October 4th, 1964, East Berlin. A border guard stops walking. 12 meters below his boots, two men lie frozen in cold mud, holding their breath. One cough, one scrape of mail, and they're dead. Above them, machine guns, attack doors, and two poor minds assigned to Fred and Uus. Here's with girders of these bird commanders. They aren't spies. They're dudes armed a show and barreled revolver. For 6 months, they've been clawing through 90 tons of Berlin clay to build a 145-meter tunnel beneath the deadliest border on Earth. The goal: smuggle 57 people to freedom, including one man's girlfriend, who the Stasi just released from prison as bait. But someone in their crew has been feeding information to East German intelligence. The Stasi knows exactly where the Tom went. On the night of the escape, someone will die in a crossfire. We'll trade the diggers from inside. Hail the tombstones I saw at Stasi. August 13th, 1961. East German soldiers went through the darkness, unspool Mardois Kasper's midsection, where 2.5 million beggars lead. By dawn, those 2.5 million went to discover their prisoners. Families lay on Bernardstrasse fire and disbelied our ones through their partner buddeds. The ground floor in the east, the sidewalk in the west. A mother named Ida Siegman lowers her infant from third floor window to West Berlin firefighters will rescue net. In 72 hours, soldiers brick every window facing west. Some Mazens jump before the morgue rides. Others are caught lively and dried back inside facing Taiwan. The barrier hardened with terrifying speed. Concrete walls repassed barbed wire. Guard towers rise at 250-meter intervals, each manned by pairs of soldiers with standing orders to shoot anyone who approaches. Patrol boats drag hooks through the river spree as snag swimmers in the dock. Spring gun traps are buried in the sand, rigged to fire horizontally at anyone that triggers a tripwire. In the first year, at least 12 people died trying to cross. In August 1962, an 18-year-old bricklayer named Peter Fecker is shot while landing a war. He bleeds to death in the death strip over the course of an hour, while East German guards watch and Western crowds scream helplessly from the other side. His photograph appears in newspapers around the world. For those trapped in the East, the phrase spreads like a virus. The wall is forever. Joachim Neumann is a 21-year-old civil engineering student in Cottbus, 125 kilometers southeast of Berlin. When the wall goes up, he watches his future collapse overnight. The career that would never advance under communist quotas, the freedom to travel, the girl he planned to marry. Her name is Christa Gruhl. By December 1961, Joachim can't wait any longer. He borrows a Swiss fuse and practices the accident in front of a mirror for 3 days, and walks out to chat with Charlie with his heart pounding against his ribs. The guard flips through Bedas, steadles his face, impairs it to the photograph, hesitates, then waves him through situation, please. Joachim crosses into West Berlin with nothing but the clothes on his back and a teddy bear Crystal gave him stuffed into his coat pocket. He never told Havens to leave him. He thought she'd never wait for him. 300 kilometers north, Cooper Holbein faces a different wall, the invisible one that blocks his future. Communist bureaucrats have classified his these bourgeois enemies because his grandfather once owned a textile shop. The verdict: no university for Hubert. His ceiling is a factory floor. On November 21st, 1963, Hubert pulls on a diving suit he stitched together from raincoats and bicycle air tubes. At 11:14 p.m. besigs into Lake Yonfanzi. The water is 1 degree Celsius. For 9 minutes, he swims through total darkness, surfacing only to check his direction against the lights of the Glienicke Bridge. His muscles siege, his lips turn blue. When he finally crawls onto the western shore, West German police wrapping doom blankets and rush into a hospital. He escaped with mother's knot. By early 1964, Joachim and Hubert find each other in West Berlin. Both are engineering students there, both left behind. Over beer and grint the oratory, the sure realization no one is coming to save their families. The walls getting deadlier by the month. My fees, motion sensors, Eve dogs trained to come. Though what the love burns free. Earth dude themselves. Larkin spread the hand-drawn map across the table. His finger tracing the depth step into South Bernardstrasse. Here, the walls surface through abandoned buildings, leaving empty cellars of the mirrors of the frontier. The buildings had been evacuated, their residents forced deeper into the east. What main to basements known to us? Joachim looks at Hubert. They didn't go over or around, so I have to go on. What neither of them knows is that they're about to spend 6 months underground, and that someone in their crew is reporting every meter of progress directly to the Stasi. Who Traitor? Can't the secret police know as if they were to struck? And why did Joachim's girlfriend end up in an East German prison just weeks after he started digging? April 1964. Joachim and Hubert Pye open a padlock on an abandoned bakery at 97 Baroness Road. Inside, shattered windows, rotting floorboards, a stench of mildew and rat droppings. Pigeons scatter for the rafters at the sound of their footsteps. Perfect. No one has entered this building in years. No one except the rats and the ghosts. In the basement, they kick aside a moldy rug crusted with years of flour dust and fine cracked concrete beneath. They mark a rectangle in chalk. They raise their pickaxes, and they swing. The playing simple to explain and brutal to execute. A vertical shaft 12 meters straight down, deep enough to pass beneath the water tail and the Stasi's buried listening devices. Then, tall horizontally for 145 meters, the length of 1.5 football fields beneath the wall, the signal fence, and the district. Surface inside a courtyard at 55 Strelitzer Strasse in East Berlin. Extract their families. Vanish. They work in 12-hour shifts, sleeping in the bakery's upper floors or rye mattresses, eating bread and sausage in their remembered EO. One man digs. One man hauls dirt in buckets up a wooden ladder that grows with every step. Their progress is 10 centimeters per shovelful. Their palms blister on day 1. The blisters tear on day 2. The calluses form by day 5, then crack and bleed by day 7. By day 10, Poon Yversbath 7, knots of fire never fully release. Every chunk of clay removed is one step closer to Christer. One step closer to Hita Tamar. One step closer to everyone day being. Then comes the dirt pride. That is the intent, the exhaling roughly 90 tons of Berlin clay. That's enough soil to fill 3 free train cars, and they can't pile it outside without alerting every Stasi informant in the neighborhood. Their solution is to stuff the dirt into flour sacks scavenged from the bakery's storage rooms, stack them against the cellar walls like sandbags, camouflage the mounds behind rotting fern tree broken shielding. When the cellar fills to the ceiling, they sneak out at 3 a.m. and scatter soil in bomb craters left over from the war, in construction sites across West Berlin, in public flower beds where no one will notice fresh earth. Within 3 weeks, both men are coated in permanent gray-brown grime. Their clothes stiffen with dried sweat and clay. They start washing, there's no time, and says, they've stopped noticing the smell. 6 meters down, the candle flames start to tremble. Oxygen's thinning in the shed. Hubert's vision blurs. Black spots swim across his eyes. He climbs the ladder and vomits in a corner of the cellar. They rig a crude ventilation system, an old bicycle pump connected to 30 meters of rubber hose. One man pumps furiously, 200 strokes per hour, while the other gasps at thin pots of Berlin air in the darkness below. Day 30. Hubert's shovel strikes something that should exist. A hollow crack, then roar. He's punctured a 19th century sewer pipe, forgotten for decades beneath the surface. Beneath decades, frigid water flies the tall to his waist. The clay walls liquefy into orange slurry. The ceiling grums. Hubert scrambles backward, clawing at timber supports as the punter to clanked behind him. Up at Streetlow, Joachim feels the high-note go slack. He calls down the shaft. No, just the sound of their word died. They salvage what they can. 20 meters of progress buried. 3 weeks of labor gone. For the first time, they can say qui. Then Joachim must zoom hath being around. A thought taver, mad with mud. Quissegage 1 years ago. If what needs softening is bad, then Ave went. He pushes the dirt from its glass eyes. They drain the tin. They reinforce the collapse. They curve their route south to bypass the eruption pipe. It costs them 8 days. Then they're digging a day. If you want to see the fence, whether they break through, or the Stasi catches them, whether Joachim sees Christa again, it's a scry. I cover the tells about to be Cripsy. They mucked too, Joachim Ser stood great attempts. His torn through all. Hewt lost the tin pipes. The crew's grown 30 bar. All university students swarmed to secrecy. One of them, a physics major named Rangar Fur, lay amnestra. I know, he's lying on his back at E sings top, which endures E. What the stuff so to it would a pretty far diggers is what he talking. E. Somewhere in 1964, a town passes the 70-meter mark, halfway, at the operations hemorrhaging. Tools break, timber rots, flashlight batteries die by the dozen. Joachim and Hubert have pawned everything they own. They surviving on bread and sausage scraps, the budgers don't pennies. Then, Sturm magazine makes them over. The West German news bright funding, stains for explicit flagrants. The West German Government quietly getruis 30,000 Deutschmarks through his Ministry of Introderminales. Subtly they have better tools, more timber, even a small mining cart on wooden rails. They also have a problem. More people know the secret. And the Stasi has informants everywhere in West Berlin. RFIDs who never really defected, students on payroll, even lovers turn into spies. The Stasi knows something's happening on Berauer Strasse. They gespan over. Chief Erich Miga has oral specialized anti-tunnel use supplied you from along the eastern border. Sensitive listening devices that can detect digging sounds through 10 meters of packed earth. A shovel scrapes clay, a needle drops on a monitoring station 50 meters away. The diggers don't know the earphones. They know only they must be sigh. Before each session, they press their ears to the tunnel walls and listen for 60 seconds. Hear voices, the machinery, sects. Then they dig, each stroke again. One August night, they hear something that stops their hearts, a faint thud-thud scrape from somewhere ahead. Someone else is digging and moving toward them. The Stasi has used this tactic before, boring counter-tunnels to intersect escape routes mid-passage. The diggers kill their lantern, sit frozen in blackness. 5 minutes, 10, 15. A sound doesn't return. Was it sewer workers? Thought the engineers? Or something worse. Someone in their own ranks who told the secret police exactly where to dig. From that night forward, trust dissolves. Friends start watching friends. Joachim catches himself studying a new volunteer, a philosophy student who asks too many questions out the tunnel's endpoint. Why he to know this, Okisha? Why did I step outside twice during last night's shift? Paranoia spreads like mold in the duct. Then comes the tick that nearly ends over there. An Italian volunteer pulls Joachim aside. His old rumor, Rusperling Cathy. Someone in the digging crew, thief, missing us. Even know who. Just that the words Bernard Strasse, minting the context that his blood freeze. The crew convenes by candlelight. There two of us. A Ben, Tom, and everyone coming on. Or pass forward, knowing a traitor might be saying mum as I moan. They choose four. Joachim starts sleeping with a revolver under his pillow. September 14th, 1964. Past midnight. Joachim checks his compass mid-distance market, scratched into the town's timber supports. By his calculations, they crossed in the so they're now directly under dust. A flooded killing field where iron guards patrol 10 meters above their heads. From this point on, every digger seems around in their history. The Stasi knows a tunnel exists. The diggers know they have a traitor. Both sides are racing toward the same patch of earth. Both waiting for them the other side. And will the traitor find the show's base? 12 meters out the ground, Joachim's pentamars confirm their position. They are tunneling directly beneath shoulders of unmarked rifles, the dolls trying to root out toads. SM-70 fragmentation mines triggered by tripwires. Every footstep on the surface sends cascades of sand onto their faces. They switch to digging only during cover noise, passing trains, gusting wind, rumbling trucks. Even then, each scrape of the shovel sounds deafening. October 3rd, 1964, Freither Day. Just before dawn, Joachim positions a crowbar against the tunnel ceiling. Above that thin layer of earth is East Berlin, a country he fled 3 years ago. A country that will execute him if he's caught. He potters him caught. Pat soil rains into his face. He pushes again. A chunk of rotted wood falls through. He struck a man-made structure. Hubert reaches up. His fingers find open air. They've surfaced inside a bended outhouse in the rear courtyard of 53rd Straat Ibzaku Joachim im 6 months old. The navigation was flawed. Joachim pulls himself into the cramped wooden shed, pistol drawn. Dead leaves crunch beneath his boots. He eases the door open and scans the courtyard. Dark windows, no guards. He whistles the all clear. All the previous weeks, the couriers carried coded message to East Berlin. Come to Svilla to Strasse 55 midnight. Whistle password Tokyo. Help will be here. Now Joachim waits, railways. As the forced refugee appears, a university friend, shaking so badly she can barely speak. He got her to the hole. She drops into Durtons and begins the 145-meter crawl west. Over 2 nights, 57 people pass through that courtyard. Husbands reuniting with they hadn't touched in 3 years. Parents sobbing Joden's hair, memorizing scent that all forget. Brothers who again hope of ever seeing each other again. A 75-year-old woman so frail, the grandsons must carry her across the yard and lure and shed, though she's may less. Hugh calls aside her to every meter of the passage. 145 meters of mud us, whispering current that her off-root finger flav your clive soaks her humps rice and capes her for rail. The varieties of 45 words. When Sophia moors at Wester side, a photographer from Stern magazine captures her face, blinking against the flashball, tears cutting channels through the dirt, free for the first time in 3 years. The photograph will appear in newspapers across the world. The caption won't mention that you've been ferried through the tomb by a 23-year-old stager who'd never met her before that night. And, on the second night, something changes. 2 young men approach the outhouse. They claim they got the message. They seem calm, too calm. No trembling hands, no tear-sweet faces. One thief fetch a friend around the corner and slips toward the street. Jakob's blood turns to ice. Those weren't refugees. They were Stasi refugees. Someone of the escapee list was an informant. The secret police have known about the tunnel. They just wait to maximize the ha. Joachim hisses down the strand. Stasi, run! The last refugees still in a gauze scramble forward and bleeding knees. 2 border guards towards the courtyard. Kalashnikovs raised with shouting orders. Joachim fires twice. One guard, a 24-year-old sergeant named Egon Schultz, cries out and crumples, hit in the shoulder. The second guard returns fire. Muscle clash strobes the darkness. In the chaos, Schultz is struck again, this time by his own comrade's bullet in the crossfire. Joachim doesn't wait to see who shot whom. He dives into the tunnel. The last diggers collapse the entrance behind them, burying the passage under cascading soil. Minutes later, Joachim emerges on the western side, gasping, caked head to toe in mud, ears still rinning to gunfire. In the bakery basement, 57 escaped East Germans, pressed together in the dim light, husbands clutching wives, parents sobbing into children's hair, friends embracing for the first time since the wall window. The air smells of sweat and clay and tears. Hubert finds his mother wrapped in a wool blanket near the stairs, her eyes red, her hands shaking. She falls into his arms without a word. She's 58 years old. She hasn't seen her son in 11 months. She will never go back. Joachim scans the quack, pouting. He checks every face, every corner of the basement. Then he sees her. Krista. Sandy lonely the furnace, shivering, covered in clay from her hair to her ankles, alive. She'd been released from East German prison just 48 hours earlier. For 18 months, Stasi had interrogated her about Joachim's escape attempts, locked her in cells, denied her sleep and threatened her family. They released her in September 1964, possibly as bait, possibly as a bureaucratic exit. When the code of message arrived, Strelitzer Strauss 55, midnight, whispered Tokyo. She knew it, she knew the risk, and she came away. Now they lock eyes across the crowd basement, 10 meters apart. For a long moment, neither moves. And they rush together and cling to each other. Our face bury his muddy shower, his arms wrapped so tight around it that she can barely breathe. Tears cut channels to the grime of her faces. She whispers something he can't hear over the chaos. He whispers back, I came for you. Who really killed the border guard that night? And were the true who call? By dawn, 12th, East German authorities discovered the tunnel entrance in the air, so still it is also too late. 50-something heel have vanished from beneath their boots. The Ring of Centralien. Radio East Berlin declares that Western terrorists and fascist provocateurs murdered border guard Egon Schultz in cold blood. And great is cold, split East blood, dread GDR blood. While state-controlled newspapers demand just hero social end. But the regimes lie. Ballistics analysis, hidden Stasi files for 25 years, and revealed only after the war out, will eventually prove that Schultz was killed by friendly fire. His own comrade's bullet stuck him in the panicked crossfire at the corridor, while both guards were shooting wildly shells. A tongue was did nose a tongue. They heard all their young men was dead, and the way of still of their shores that stone. So they launched their own counterattack, the only weapon they had left. They filled helium balloons with leaflets and floated them over the wall into East Berlin. The notes drifted down on sidewalks, rooftops, and public squares, carrying a message the regime couldn't censor. The real murderer is the system that built the wall and ordered Germans to shoot Germans. Joachim marries Christa within the year. They raise children who will never know what it feels like to be caged. Hubert completes his engineering degree. The education East German denied for having the wrong grandfather. Reinhard für Stasi eventually flies aboard his space shuttle Challenger, becoming the second German in space. In a twisted irony, Joachim later works as a consulting engineer on the Channel Tower to illegal trades. Boy passengers not to escape tyranny, but to connect free peoples. Both men carry invisible scars for the rest of their lives. Sleepless nights, flashes of paranoia and crimes. The community vigilance that comes from spending 6 months listening to footsteps overhead. But I also carry proof that 2 students as shovels chained fit to say lies for air. Toll 57 remained the single most successful escape toll of the Berlin Wall era. Those 57 refugees represent nearly 1/5 of everyone who ever escaped through tunnels during the wall's 28 years. In the end, the Stasi never identified the traitor in the Deer's ranks, or if they did, the files were destroyed. What they couldn't destroy was the lesson. Walls are built by governments. The walls can be broken by anyone stubborn enough to keep digging. On November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall fell to sledgehammers and joyful crowds. Joachim and Hubert, gray-haired now, watch history vindicate the audacity of youth. Their tunnel had long since been filled in, erased from the landscape, forgotten by everyone except 57 people seed. But lesson ignored. The deadliest border on earth couldn't hold that 2 kids with a shovel. If you want to see what happens when an even more desperate group tries to escape from the worst places on earth, watch how this man escaped Auschwitz using a Nazi uniform. And the ending will stay with you for days.